things. First of all, we don't fundamentally understand what government is for. Government was created to protect our inalienable rights, or our God-given rights. Government is not here to make sure a landowner makes the best profit on the sale of his property, nor is he here to make sure that a business prospers on that land, and nor are they here to create taxes. The government's responsibility and purpose for its formation is to protect inalienable rights. So before you do anything, you need to consider what the people's inalienable rights are, and they are not to be trumped by anything. We are a republic, not a democracy, and we are a constitutional republic, which you are bound by the Constitution you took an oath to. So over 90 notices came to you guys, maybe close to 100 by now. So I'm gonna read this just to put it into public record. Notice of maladministration. Notice to agent is notice to principal, and notice to principal is notice to agent. I, one of the people, as seen in the Illinois State Constitution, suis juris, do present this notice so that you may provide immediate use of public trust and are therefore a servant and trustee of the people, which are the beneficiaries. It is the public policy of the state and the duty of each governmental person to provide and maintain a healthful environment. Further, the entire purpose of government is to secure and to protect the rights of the people and their property. The people have reserved the right to a healthful environment and may use this right to hold government servants in their public or private capacity accountable. See evidence below. Illinois Constitution, Article 1, Section 1. All men are by nature free and independent, have certain inherent and inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights and the protection of property, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Illinois Constitution, Article 11, Section 1. The public policy of the state and the duty of each person is to provide and maintain a healthful environment for the benefit of this and future generations. The General Assembly shall provide law for the implementation and enforcement of this public policy. Illinois Constitution, Article 11, Section 2. Each person has a right to a healthful environment. Each person may enforce this right against any party, government or private, though appropriate legal proceedings subject to reasonable limitation and regulated as the General Assembly may provide by law. Please take notice. The city of Yorkville is a non-home rule municipality. Municipalities like Yorkville possess only those powers expressly granted by the state constitution and statutes pursuant to the Constitution. Yorkville remains fully subject to the Constitution and laws pursuant thereto. The Constitution shall be the rule of decision when discerning whether legislation creates an obligation for the city of Yorkville. Has the city of Yorkville been granted power by the Constitution or by the legislation pursuant to it to bypass the people's will and expression to protect their property? This includes value thereof, and maintain a healthful environment. See evidence below. Illinois 1970 Constitution, Article 7, Section 7. Counties and municipalities which are not home rule shall have only powers granted to them by law, and the powers. Number 1, to make local improvements by special assessment and to exercise the power jointly with other counties and municipalities and other classes of units of local government having that power on the effective date of this Constitution, unless that power is subsequently denied by law to any such other units of local government. Number 2, by referendum to adopt, alter, or repeal their forms of government provided by law. Number 3, in the case of municipalities, to provide by referendum for their officers, manner of selection and terms of office. Number 4, in the case of counties, to provide for their officers, manner of selection of terms of office as provided in Section 4 of this article. Maximum of law, and the maximum of law is a fact or truth in law. It is expected as truth and not to be debated. That which is granted or revered is a certain specified form, must be taken as it is granted, and will not be permitted to be made the subject of any adjustment or compensation on the part of the grantee. Please take notice. In American government, the people have granted immunity to public servants for official acts to protect those acting in good faith under the constitutions for the benefit of the people. Judgments for such acts are typically paid for by the public taxpayer funds. However, unofficial acts receive no immunity, and public servants liable for them may face private accountability. See above Constitution Article 11, Section 2. With judgments payable by private funds, not public ones, this principle appears in Vermont's Constitution and applies equally for people of Illinois. See evidence below. Vermont Constitution, Chapter 1, Article 6. That all people being originally inherent in that consequently derived from the people, therefore, all officers in government, whether legislative or executive, are their trustees and servants, and at all times, in a legal way, accountable to them. Please take notice. The people have grown weary of government ignoring fundamental rights, liberatories, and mandatory constitutional provisions to protect their property and environment, partly by elevating commercial interests equal to or even supersede the people's rights and community welfare. We have rediscovered our inherent rights, as in Article 1 of the Illinois Constitution, and no longer rely on attorneys trained to conceal or subvert these rights by working in league with others using commerce to bypass our rights. Commercial entities and property use or commerce hold privileges only. The people are not equals with statutory persons or businesses. The people have learned the fundamental principles of law, our constitutions, and the proper frame and form of law to warn public servants of maladministration, risk and hold them personally and even privately accountable for ignoring warnings of violating the law of the land as intended by our founders. Some principles, though unstated in the Illinois Constitution, appear in other state constitutions and remain equally available to all people across the state on equal footing. Illinois Constitution, Article 1, Section 23. A frequent recurrence to fundamental principles of civil government is necessary to preserve the blessings of liberty. These blessings cannot endure unless the people recognize their corresponding individual obligations and responsibilities. Illinois Constitution, Article 1, Section 24. The enumeration in this Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage other retained by the individual citizens and state. Maxim: no one ought to be enriched by another's loss. Kentucky Constitution Bill of Rights, Section 2. Absolute and arbitrary power over the lives, liberty, and property of free men exists nowhere in a republic, not even in the largest majority. Remember, in the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 4, we are guaranteed a Republican form of government. Virginia Constitution, Article 1, Section 3, that government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community of all various modes and forms of government. That is the best which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and in most effectively securing against the dangers of maladministration. And whenever any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community hath indubitably, inalienably, and indefeasibly right to reform, alter, and abolish it, in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal. Remember, I've been here before talking about the 6 unchanging principles of the Declaration of Independence, and one of those is that people have the right to change or abolish their government. Please take final notice. The people seek good and faithful servants to uphold the law of the land and the people's will. It is widely reported that large data centers pose a danger of impacting the community's environment, including but not limited to water, air, ground, and noise pollution, in addition to the people's property value and potential stress on public infrastructure. These companies seeking privilege to use the land in our community often enrich themselves at risk and detriment to the health, safety, property value, and welfare of the community, posing a danger to the happiness and safety of the community. The purpose of this notice is to warn you of these dangers and remind you of your constitutionally bound duty to protect the people and their property. Anything less, immediately ceasing to approve more data centers or stopping ones that have broken ground may be considered a breach of trust and maladministration. Will you uphold your oath by performing official acts under the law to retain immunity? Or you ignore the people through maladministration via unofficial acts, potentially forfeiting immunity? If you choose to listen to your attorney's counsel or the people's counsel, you should require them to provide written counsel sworn by affidavit affirming the people are wrong in their understanding of the law that is constitutionally expressed. This may be the only safe way to shift potential liability from yourself to your counsel if you disregard the people, unless you believe you are not subject to the people's will and their guarantee of protection of property and the community's environment. Upon receiving this notice, you can no longer claim ignorance of the facts and dangers that may lead to harm or injury of the people or the property. Maxim, what is not read is not believed. Maxim, no one is believing in court but upon his oath. Maxim, the spoken word flies, the written letter remains. Maxim, ignorance of the law excuses no one, for all are bound to know the law. It is therefore my wish, order, and demand that the Yorkville City Council notify applicants from the commercial data center facilities that this commerce and property use is a danger to the community that the city of Yorkville is obligated to protect. If you believe any statement above are untrue, or that the people err in law or purpose of government, provide clear, unquestionable constitutional provision. All responses must be written by affidavit, sworn under penalty of perjury, and postmarked within 14 days of receiving this notice. Otherwise, by acquiescence, you agree all statements are true facts, consistent arbitration before my chosen arbitrator, and are bound thereby. Further, you agree to act with full knowledge, intent, and malice by trespassing against the people. With no court able to rehear this matter, it shall be stand as truth and evidence in all courts of record. No statute of limitations exists on the trespass of constitutionally secured rights, and this document may aid in future remedies for your personal funds for any harm or injury to people or property related to commercial data facilities. Responses not under the penalty of perjury are not responses. Suppressing this notice may, by any man or woman, constitute tortious interference with the contract between the people and their representatives. This notice is sent to you in the peace and love of Christ, so that you may faithfully protect the lives, liberty, and property of the people and the community's environment, which is the entire purpose of government. Servants who wish to act in good faith may utilize this notice as a shield to protect themselves with constitutional immunity. Servants who refuse to act in good faith by choosing to rebel against the people's will expressed in the Constitution may view this notice as evidence that the people may utilize to prosecute maladministration and breach of public trust. Maxim, he will not be considered as use of force who exercises his right and proceeds by form of law. Maxim, consent, acquiescence, removes mistake or error. Then it's signed and dated, and again, I believe you received 90 to 100 of these. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Good evening. I certainly appreciate the time. First of all, Bart, you did an outstanding job of laying out how this is a generational opportunity for the city